Hi everyone, my name is Steph, this is the Novelty Corner, and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a tri-chapter paranormal edition for the Love in the Night readathon, which is going to be a little bit different from my regular tri-chapter videos because there's no guarantee that by the end of this video I'm going to read a book for it, because essentially I'm just trying these out to figure out what I want to actually pick up next week for the readathon. So if you've seen my TBR video or my Pile of Possibilities video, there are 16 books. I have 2 physical books, I have 8 books that are sitting on my Kindle as backlist titles, and I also have 6 Kindle Unlimited paranormal romance titles. Since then I have not consolidated, what's the best word for it? Since then, there are 3 books that I will be reading for the readathon. I'm not telling you what they are because they're arcs that I have, but I will be reading them. Everything else though out of these 16 books is a potential. And today is my chance to whittle them down beforehand so that I don't get stuck next week, or at least that's the plan. So I'm going to start with the 2 physical books. These are books that I received for free in the VIP bag for a recent book event. When I don't pick my own books, I'm always on the opposite side of cautiously optimistic, whatever that might be. So we are going to try the first chapter of The Girl and the Ghost and also His Lost Lycan, Luna, and I will let you know my thoughts. So The Girl and the Ghost by Ebony McKenna is a young adult paranormal romance between Morgan, who wakes up to find a ghost, George, in her bedroom. I don't think I will get through the entirety of this book. I don't think it's terribly written. It's definitely YA. And the entire first couple of pages are just dedicated to the fact that Morgan has moved into a new house and her parents have decorated her room and everything is pink, so everything is described as pink. I'm like, I get it, the room is pink, I love pink. Stop saying that the room is pink. You've told us that 100 times in 3 pages. So I think that one is out, but that's okay because I can find a new home for it. So now let's try the first chapter of The Lost Lycan, Luna, which His Lost Lycan, Luna. I can't say this title. That does not bode well, does it? Alright, so His Lost Lycan, Luna by Jessica Hall is about Ivy and possibly her sister. They are children of rogue wolf shifter parents. They've been raised in some kind of boarding school where they are treated very badly, and they're about to be either killed or auctioned off. Honestly, a lot of the writing in here I wasn't a great fan of, and also I just don't love the premise. I don't know how well, like, the capabilities of the female protagonist, but I don't like the way that she's been positioned at the start of this book. So that is also probably a no, which is good. We're whittling down the list. Now I'm going to start in on my Kindle backlist titles. I'm going to end with the KU titles because I picked them because I'm obviously really currently excited about them. So I read the first 2 chapters of 6 by Carrie Thorne, mostly because I've read the first chapter in another tri-chapter video previously. So I thought, let's just read the second chapter and see if that helps me make a better decision, and it did. I'm not going to keep reading it, mostly because this book is about demon hunters, and the first chapter, we're in the present day. We meet Ryan, who is a demon hunter, which is someone who has demon blood in their system. He and his crew are at sea in the Arctic and they rescue a woman out of the water. She's also a demon hunter. Her name is Quinn. The second chapter is a flashback 6 weeks ago. In her perspective, she is out demon hunting with her cousin, and then we also get a lot of setup for the book in the second chapter. Like, the first 2 chapters are 11% of the book, which to me is quite a bit, and it just felt like the second chapter went on and on and on. Like, we got a lot of info dumping. Essentially, the reason that the book is called 6 is because Quinn and her family and her current partner are trying to hunt down a particular type of demon. Apparently there is a prophecy, you need 6 demon hunters to do it. They're trying to find their 6th. I'm assuming that is going to be Ryan. There is also something in there about true love between demon hunters, which Quinn's current partner believes is between the 2 of them, but Quinn, as Quinn points out, they're rather boring. They're not passionate about one another, and he's trying to pressure her into making a commitment, and she's like, well, I need more time because honestly this isn't really working. There was a lot in the second chapter, so I think I'm going to pass on this one. Alright, so I read the first chapter of The Dragon of New Orleans, which is by Genevieve Jack, and we start off in Gabriel's perspective. He is the dragon. He has a curse placed on him. I'm assuming that the curse has something to do with finding his mate, and he hasn't done that yet, so that's going to be the entire plotline of the story. It did mention voodoo, and I'm just cautiously optimistic that it's going to be done respectfully, given that it's New Orleans. I don't know. And then the second half of the chapter is from Raven's perspective, who is going to be obviously the love interest, but she is currently in hospice because she is dying of a brain tumor and has just recently had a stroke in hospital. So I'm kind of conflicted. I don't love the setup so much. Like, it's just, I mean, I know it's going to be a romance and she's going to get better because she's going to be fated mates with the immortal dragon. Like, I get that. I'm willing to give it another chapter at some point. Maybe. If I don't by the end of the readathon, it's probably on the chopping block. Serpent's Kiss by Thea Harrison is the third book in the Elder Races series, and I haven't read much in that series for a while, and I think that's going to be a bit of a problem for me. I don't care. I don't care. Essentially, the premise for this one is you have Carleen, who is an ancient vampire who had done a deal with Rune, who was one of the sentinels for Dragos, who I think was the main character in book 1. That's how long it's been. I can't remember these details. That's kind of the vague thing that I'm getting from rereading or reading the first chapter of this book. And as such, Rune now owes Carleen service for a period of time, like in exchange for doing something to save someone else's life. And basically the majority of the chapter is him traveling to get there, and it was just not at all interesting to me. So I think this one is probably a no. I think I'm just too far removed from reading the first couple of books in the series, which I did enjoy, but I don't think I'm going to continue the series anymore. Alrighty, so I went back to One Heart by Chace Verity. So I have read the first chapter of this before, so I've reread the first chapter and the second chapter. I'm definitely keeping this one on the list to read. It is Chace Verity. It was always going to happen. Hopefully, I'm just going to prioritize it next week. It is about Vincent, who is a non-binary bisexual bartender who is in their mid-30s. They work at a cowboy-themed bar in Calgary. Anyway, there is a new bartender, Kit, who comes from a wealthy family but is for some reason working at this bar. And in the first couple of chapters, we figure out that Kit is very, very estranged from his family and that he has a massive crush on Vincent, to the point where Kit is walking Vincent home despite the fact that he doesn't live anywhere near where Vincent lives. Very sweet, definitely going to continue. That one's staying. Let's try the next first chapter. So Ditching the Dragon by Becca Fogg is a under 200 page paranormal romance. We have Annie, who has gotten out of a bad relationship. Her best friend has set her up on a series of blind dates to meet people because she's tired of her moping, and she is at a bar and she's there to meet a guy called Daniel S, software engineer. On the flip side of that chapter, we also have Wickham, which is a very unfortunate name for a character in a book, who is her fated mate, and he is a dragon. And he is about to walk into the bar where she is on said date to get her. Mind you, said date is going terribly from what I gather from the first couple of lines of chapter 2. But I mean, I might keep it and try another chapter during the readathon week, maybe? I don't know. I'm not feeling particularly strongly one way or the other about this, which also not a great sign. This is going so well. Pumpkin Spice and Poltergeists by Alli K. Mulford and K.L. Morrison is a sapphic paranormal romance. It is about Jordan, who in the very first chapter summons the ghost of her ex-girlfriend who died in a car accident because she wants a chance to say goodbye and to make amends and to move on with her life, except when her ex-girlfriend is trying to go back to said afterlife, she is stuck because she's literally been summoned to help her ex-girlfriend move on in reality. Yeah, not really feeling it. I'm going to sit with this one for a bit as we continue onwards. So A Demon's Cocktail with Sambuca by Ariana Jade is a sapphic paranormal novella. I think the description described it as urban fantasy romance. Basically, you have a demon and an angel who are entering into a competition to see who can win at it in terms of, you know, dealing with their humans and the way that demons and angels feed off of the intentions of humans. I'm intrigued. It's less than 100 pages. I think I'm going to keep this one for the readathon. It was just the right kind of banter and lightness without being overly dramatic. It's good to have one of those books in your back pocket, so I'm going to hold on to that one. All right, I'm going to continue. Last one of my Kindle backlist before I jump into KU titles. So Only Mostly Dead by Alli Temple is, I think, the first book in a trilogy. We have Ember, who is in hospital. She has terminal cancer. She's opted in for medically assisted aid at the end of life, and so that happens. She dies. She wakes up in the hospital and she ends up meeting a Reaper who is collecting the soul of someone else who has just died, and there's been a mix-up on her paperwork because the date was wrong. So she isn't due to be collected because the month and the date were around the wrong way. And so she's left in the hospital because the Reaper is very busy. And it kind of just made me laugh and giggle a little bit. So I think I'm going to keep this one and see where it goes. The Good Boys Club by Jenna Croft. The first chapter is from Kian's perspective. He works at a werewolf shifter dating company thing, and he is inducting the new interns who are coming to work at the company. and basically drilling them on the differences between shifters and werewolves and all that sort of thing. And there is a very helpful diagram in the front of the book. Then at the end of his induction, he notices his best friend who is lounging in his chair. He shouldn't be there. He doesn't work for the company at all and has snuck through security to get there and bring Kiana coffee. I'm not sure about this one. I've read Jemma Croft before. Like, the writing is not an issue. I know that reading through the content notes at the start, there's possibly going to be some things in there that are just not my preference. So I don't know. This is on the maybe pile. Again, one I probably want to try at least another chapter and see how I feel. But I do believe it's going to be jumping backwards and forwards in time, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about that either. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more to go. All right, so Bite Marks and Broken Hearts by TJ Rose. The first chapter is from Sebastian's perspective. He's a vampire. This is clearly going to be some kind of romantic suspense, paranormal romance kind of thing. There is a murder that has happened. A young girl has been murdered by some kind of creature, and I think they said it's the 10th person who has been murdered, so there is something rising and they are trying to figure it out. And Sebastian is part of a team of, I'm presuming, supernatural creatures. I don't know if they're all vampires or not. I'm very intrigued by this one. Like, that opening was good. That was a good opening. So yes, queer MM, all of those things. Gonna keep this one on the list for sure. All right, so Ness by Eryn Hawke is a Loch Ness monster, queer, paranormal romance kind of story. We have Gray, who I believe lives in London and has decided to take a couple of weeks and stay in Scotland in a very small cabin near Loch Ness. He's there to get away. He's a writer. He's trying to write his book. He needs a break from the city, and on the first day he's exploring the little town near where he's staying and unintentionally discovers the Loch Ness Museum, and he just wants to get to the gift shop to get something for his nephew, but he's convinced to join a tour of the museum, and then he's then convinced to join a Loch Ness monster hunt by Hamish, who is running the tour, who seems delighted to have convinced a non-believer to come on this morning boat cruise. So the second chapter is the hunt. I'm intrigued. Again, this is one I probably want to read a few more chapters before making a decision, but very cute. A Breath of Fresh Air by Allegra Hall is staying. It is a novella-length paranormal romance. We are in Amaya's perspective. She is in her 50s. She's at the wedding of her daughter, and she meets Brett, who is an Australian werewolf. Werewolves and shifters are different in here. I think he's a werewolf. They're in New Zealand. Amaya is originally from New Zealand. So I just love it because it's the language that I understand, Australian and New Zealand. Like, I'm not as good at New Zealand as I am at Australian, but I get it. So this one's staying. I'm very intrigued. So the first chapter of Heartsong by S.E. Wendel is from mostly from Anna's perspective. She works at a museum. She's in charge of a collection of grotesques, and she's very interested and intrigued by them and wants to take care of them for this museum that she's working for. And she's just been asked by her boss to stay late tonight because there is an expert coming in who is spending some time at the museum, and she wants to get the lay of the land. And then we switch perspectives to Frey, who is one of the grotesques and has been sort of trapped inside, and he can feel his mate nearby, aka Anna. So intrigued. On to the last chapter for this video. So A Mage's Guide to Human Familiars by AJ Sherwood and Katie Griffin. I read the prologue and also the first chapter, which are basically the same event from two characters' perspectives. So we have Belle, who is a mage, who is part demon, who is trying to summon a familiar, and he summons a human soldier. Then we flip to Nico's perspective, the human soldier. He was at work, he works for the army, and he's out getting lunch, and he ends up in a summoning circle in Michigan, which is a long distance from where he was. And so he sees Belle, he finds out that Belle has summoned him, and Belle is trying to give him all the facts about becoming a familiar, because it's not often that humans become familiars for mages due to the fact that Belle is part demon. There are some complications with how his magic works, and so he needs a familiar because he needs someone there basically as a bodyguard, protector kind of person. And so Nico is hearing all of this out, and he's like, well, you know what? One of my favorite lines in the entire first chapter is this, like, well, I signed up for adventure and I feel like I haven't had adventure yet, and I'm seriously beginning to feel like I've missed my main character calling. And I just kind of love him for that, because he's just very, you know what, let's go with it, why not? Everything else I'm doing is not all that particularly interesting at the moment, because basically his life consists of paperwork, and I'm kind of very intrigued to see where this goes. So this one is staying as well. Brings us to our final tally. I have decided that ultimately I'm going to DNF The Dragon of New Orleans. I know I said I'd give it one more chapter, but the more I think about it, the more I'm less interested in doing that. So that gives me 6 DNFs, 2 maybes. My maybes are The Good Boys Club by Jemma Croft and Ness by Eryn Hawke. And then the rest of the books, so One Heart by Chace Verity, A Demon's Cocktail with Sambuca by Ariana Jade, Only Mostly Dead by Ellie Temple, Ditching the Dragon by Becca Fogg, Bite Marks and Broken Hearts by TJ Rose, A Breath of Fresh Air by Allegra Hall, Heartsong by S.E. Wendel, and A Mage's Guide to Human Familiars by AJ Sherwood and Katie Griffin are all staying on my TBR for the time being, and hopefully being read, or most of them hopefully being read, during the readathon next week. So stay tuned to find out which ones actually get read. In the comments, I'd love to know, have you read any of these books? Are you planning on picking any of them up? Feel free to let me know. Otherwise, feel free to leave a dragon emoji to let me know that you're here. Otherwise, I hope that wherever you are in the world, you're staying safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye everyone.